But if you look at how can I get people as productive as quickly as possible, it's probably not your best option. I think that's relatively often true. You still have really sucky developers, even though they're happy. But I think that if you have your developers are usually more productive if they work with things they enjoy, right? If you're working with this framework that is always it's like having a fist fight in code that's unpleasurable, you rather not do it. You rather go to this thing that facilitates what you want to do, that helps you, and this is important. I mean, we get more productive, it's better for atmosphere, it's better for morale if we can use tooling that helps. So then there's this thing called developer productivity. So we're going to the cloud, right? We need to start running a load test to make sure we can manage costs. You can scale properly. And then you need to start making choices like, okay, what is the tool set I'm going to use to run these tests? And often I think it pays off for people to stay within the ecosystem they're familiar, right? So if you don't really need to learn new things, you probably become more productive easier. It's also easier to make the step. Therefore, it's often easier to motivate people to make that additional step. Or in other words, I think it's important that we take away the things that are not helping people. Take away as much as the boundaries and as the problems you can have, you can possibly envision, and people are more inclined to start doing certain things. So you want to work with recognizable patterns, so things that you already know, that you daily do. You will probably want to reduce a learning curve. So if new people join your team, if they really need to work themselves into some technology to get performance tests up and running, and then I go back to the previous point, that's probably not a really pleasurable experience. I'll later tell you that I hate Scala and Gatling. Well, I don't really hate Scala, but I hate Kotlin. What is important usually is from your ecosystem. So you're writing a JVM app, I'm now exaggerating here, but you're not going to unit test that in Golang. Why? Because it doesn't make any peeping sense. It's a totally different language. I'm writing my code in Java or in Kotlin. I probably want to test it in Java and Kotlin. And I probably want to use the same library. So most of us work with REST services. Cool. We use often web clients to call other web services. Then you have the choice. I'm going to either write my performance tests with one of those clients that I know, or I'm going to learn a totally new tool and I'm going to use that to write my performance test. I mean, that's an option. It's always an option. There are really great tools out there. But if you look at how can I get people as productive as quickly as possible, it's probably not your best option. And then there's the tooling. So a lot of performance test frameworks, they come with reporting functionality. Well, that's great, but it kind of goes against the philosophy I shared before that I want the things to come to you. The secondary, I need to learn what these dashboards actually tell me. Usually they're quite intuitive, but in the end, it's yet another tool. And I need to learn to understand what the metrics mean or the graphs mean that report shows me. But probably, I hope, you already have an observability stack on production that alerts stuff to you and it provides metrics and graphs. So if you already have that stack, why not use that to see if your performance test runs successfully, right? Why would I learn another tool if we already have one on production and we trust that tool to tell if your stuff is good or bad? I don't know. Then here's my darling Gatling. So I think the tooling that we've been using at Bol.com is, I call it misaligned. I could use a lot of heavy words. I chose this because I have no clue what it really means, but it doesn't fit. I don't think it fits the purpose. It doesn't fit our day-to-day work. For example, Gatling is a Scala. Scala is a really cool language, actually. You can do really cool stuff. Wherever Gatling is a beast to get familiar with. And if you write code in Gatling, 2 weeks later, you probably need to completely relearn what you did. Is that a productive tool? I think not. Is that a productive tool for 90% of the developers out there? Absolutely not. And then we have a lot of really cool tools in different languages, like Locust, pretty freaking amazing tool. K6, also really cool. You have Vegeta, Golang tool. I actually think they're all really cool, but then I come back to I'm not writing my unit tests in a different language, in a different whatever. I prefer to stick to something in the language using the libraries that I am already familiar with. And a JMeter, actually I'm not sure if anybody knows, but they recently, like last week, released the JMeter DSL. It's amazing because then you can use really old crap with a new DSL. No, but okay, I mean, these are all tools that do the job, right? But then I come back to happy developers are productive developers. I strongly believe that if you give people something that makes them happy, that makes them joyful, they're more inclined to do it. So if we say performance testing is not within our daily routine, and there are reasons for that, I think we might want to tackle that problem. There's a big gap between performance testing and functional testing. If we're going to the cloud and do not do proper performance testing and proper scaling, we're going to waste a lot of money. It's not part of the process, and I cannot help anybody to get that into their process. And the tooling doesn't really align with what I think, doesn't really do what I think it should be doing. So what we can do there is we can make them an offer they can't refuse. And this is basically what we did at Bol, what I did at Bol, and I was happy that a lot of people enjoyed it. But as usual, I needed something creative to do. We started tinkering in a hackathon with see if we could use coroutines and web client to write a performance test, because let's all be fair, 9% of the performance, what you do in performance testing is usually quite trivial stuff. And this is also why I think Gatling or a lot of other tools don't really make too much sense, because those tools are general purpose tools. So they're meant to do everything. So everybody who wants to do a test comes with feature requests. So you end up with this, well, that makes it really hard to keep something simple. And I think something simple is good enough for the 90% use case.